Fatty acid oxidation. Let's talk about beta oxidation first. Now, most fatty acids are degraded by sequential removal of two carbon fragments from the carbonyl end of the fatty acid. Okay, fatty acid has the carbonyl end. From that carbonyl end, there is sequential removal of two carbon fragments, and that is how you degrade most fatty acids. Now, this process, okay, this sequential removal of two carbon fragments from the carbonyl end of the fatty acid, this process is known as beta oxidation. And during this process of beta oxidation, acetyl coenzyme A is formed. And why this acetyl coenzyme A is formed? Because the bond between the alpha carbon and beta carbon is broken. Okay, because of the fact that the bond between alpha carbon and beta carbon is broken, the acetyl coenzyme A is formed during the process of beta oxidation, which is sequential removal of two carbon fragments from the carbonyl end of the fatty acid. Now, this process is known as beta oxidation because the beta carbon of the fatty acid is oxidized. Okay, fatty acid has a beta carbon, that beta carbon is oxidized, and that is the reason why this process is known as beta oxidation. Fatty acid activation and transport across mitochondrial membrane. Now, before beta oxidation begins, each fatty acid is activated in reaction with ATP and coenzyme A. Okay, it reacts with ATP and coenzyme A, and then this fatty acid becomes activated, and then you can beta oxidize this fatty acid and you can degrade it. Now, this fatty acid undergo ATP dependent acylation reaction, and when it undergo ATP dependent acylation reaction, fatty acyl coenzyme A is formed. Okay, how fatty acyl co A is formed? When the fatty acid undergo ATP dependent acylation reaction. Now, this activation process of fatty acid is catalyzed by this enzyme known as acyl coenzyme A synthase, and this activation process is happening in cytosol. Okay, so in cytosol, the activation process is catalyzed by acyl coenzyme A synthase. Now, this acyl CoA synthase is also known as acyl CoA ligase and acyl CoA thiokinase. Okay, these are the two different names of this acyl CoA synthase enzyme. Now, this is how the transport of fatty acids into the mitochondria looks like. Okay, as you can see, the fatty acyl coenzyme A is kind of combining with carnitine, and this is catalyzed by carnitine acyl transferase 1, and out of this reaction fatty acyl carnitine and coenzyme A is formed. Then this fatty acyl carnitine is transported, and this fatty acyl carnitine then combines with coenzyme A, and it forms carnitine and fatty acyl coenzyme A, and this reaction is catalyzed by carnitine acyl transferase 2, and then this carnitine is again passing through the inner mitochondrial membrane. Now, these fatty acids are activated for oxidation in cytosol. Okay, in cytosol, these fatty acids are activated, and then these fatty acids are oxidized in mitochondria. Okay, they are activated for oxidation, and then they are oxidized inside the mitochondria. Now, this long chain of fatty acid coenzyme A just cannot directly pass through the inner mitochondrial membrane. Okay, through inner mitochondrial membrane, this long chain of fatty acids just cannot directly pass, because of the fact that this mitochondrial inner membrane is impermeable for most of the fatty acyl coenzyme A molecules. It is impermeable for most of the fatty acyl coenzyme A molecules, and that is the reason why this long chain of fatty acid coenzyme A just cannot directly pass through inner mitochondrial membrane. There is a special carrier which is known as carnitine. This carnitine is used to transport the acyl group into the mitochondria. We saw in the diagram, right? The fatty acyl coenzyme A combined with carnitine, and then fatty acyl carnitine formed, and that fatty acyl carnitine was then transported through the inner mitochondrial membrane. Okay, so a special carrier which is known as carnitine is used for the transport of acyl group across the mitochondria. Now this carnitine is also known as beta hydroxy gamma trimethyl ammonium butyrate. Okay, that's the name of this carnitine, which is transporting your acyl group in and out of the mitochondria. Now fatty acids, okay, whose chain length is less than 12 carbons, those kind of fatty acids, small molecules of fatty acids, can enter the mitochondria without any help of carnitine. Okay, if the fatty acid is less than 12 carbons, then it can enter mitochondria without any help from carnitine. And if its chain length is not less than 12 carbons, that is, it is 13 carbon, 40 carbon, or more than that, then fatty acid will need the help of carnitine to enter the mitochondria. Now let's see how carnitine mediated transfer of fatty acyl coenzyme into the mitochondrial matrix is carried out. Okay, let's see it. Let's see how this carnitine shuttle works step by step. Now, in the first step, what happens is each fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule is converted to fatty acyl carnitine derivative. Okay, each fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule is being converted into fatty acyl carnitine derivative, and this step is catalyzed by carnitine acyl transferase 1 enzyme, which is located at the outer side of the inner mitochondrial membrane. Okay, at the outer side of inner mitochondrial membrane you have carnitine acyl transferase 1. This enzyme is catalyzing the conversion of fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule into the fatty acyl carnitine derivative, and that is your first step. Now there is a carrier protein which is known as carnitine acyl carnitine translocase. Okay, this carrier protein, which is present in the mitochondrial inner membrane, transfers the fatty acyl carnitine into the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, in the first step, fatty acyl carnitine molecule was formed. Okay, now carnitine protein takes this fatty acyl carnitine molecule and transfers it into the mitochondrial matrix. So in second step, at the end of second step, in your mitochondrial matrix, you have this fatty acyl carnitine molecule. Now in the third step, this fatty acyl coenzyme A is regenerated, and that reaction is catalyzed by carnitine acyl transferase 2. And this enzyme, which is regenerating your fatty acyl coenzyme A, is located at the matrix side of the mitochondrial membrane. Okay, so at the matrix side of the mitochondrial membrane, you have this carnitine acyl transferase 2, which is regenerating your fatty acyl coenzyme A. Now in the fourth step, what happens is this carnitine is transported back into the intermembrane space, and it is transported back into the intermembrane space by a carrier protein. Okay, now carnitine is there in your intermembrane space in the fourth step, and this carnitine then reacts with another fatty acyl coenzyme A, and the process is repeated. So in the fourth step, carnitine just comes back to the intermembrane space with the help of a carrier protein, and then carnitine reacts with another fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule. Now let's see the beta oxidation of saturated fatty acid, example palmitic acid. Now once the fatty acyl coenzyme A is inside the mitochondrial matrix, this fatty acyl coenzyme A is oxidized with the oxidation of beta carbon. And then this long chain of fatty acyl coenzyme A is subjected to repeated 4 steps process. And this repeated 4-step process removes 2 carbon units from the chain until the last 2 carbon fragments are obtained. Okay, it keeps removing the 2 carbons from the chain until you have last 2 carbon fragments remained in the chain. Okay, so fatty acyl coenzyme A comes into the mitochondrial matrix, and this fatty acyl coenzyme A is oxidized with the oxidation of beta carbon, and the long chain of fatty acyl coenzyme A is subjected to repeated 4-step process. Now what does this repeated 4-step process does? It removes 2 carbons from the chain, and it keeps removing 2 carbons from the chain until you reach the last 2 carbon fragments of the chain. So this is the summary of the reactions of the beta oxidation of palmitic acid. Okay, acyl coenzyme A is converted to alpha beta enol coenzyme A, and this reaction is catalyzed by acyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase. Then this alpha beta enol coenzyme A is converted into 3-hydroxyacyl coenzyme A, and then this 3-hydroxyacyl coenzyme A is converted to beta ketoacyl coenzyme A. Okay, this reaction is catalyzed by enol coenzyme A hydratase, and this reaction is catalyzed by hydroxyacyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase. And at last, this beta ketoacyl coenzyme A is converted into acyl coenzyme A and acetyl coenzyme A, and that reaction is catalyzed by thiolase. Okay, so this is the summary of the reactions of the beta oxidation of palmitic acid. Now this series of 4 reactions which we just saw yields a fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule which is shortened by 2 carbons and 1 acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, this fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule contains 2 less carbons, and it is shortened by 1 acetyl coenzyme A molecule, and this fatty acid acyl coenzyme A is yielded by the series of 4 reactions we just saw. Now this shortened fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule can undergo another beta oxidation cycle. Okay, it can go through another beta oxidation cycle, this shortened fatty acyl coenzyme A molecule. Now repetition of this cycle with a palmitic acid which has an even number of carbons in it eventually yields 8 molecules of acetyl coenzyme A. You will get 8 molecules of acetyl coenzyme A if you repeat this cycle with a palmitic acid which has even number of carbons in it. Okay, at last it will yield 8 molecules of acetyl coenzyme A. Stoichiometry of beta oxidation. Beta oxidation of palmitic acid which has 16 carbons in it. This palmitoyl coenzyme A plus 7 coenzyme plus 7 FAD plus 7 NAD plus 7 H2O gives 8 acetyl coenzyme A plus 7 FADH2 plus 7 NADH. Now this acetyl coenzyme A is catabolized in the TCA cycle. Okay, this acetyl coenzyme A which is produced here is catabolized in TCA cycle. And what about this FADH2 and NADH? Okay, well this FADH2 and NADH transfer electrons to the electron transport chain. Okay, so you break down palmitoyl coenzyme A, 8 acetyl coenzyme A, 7 FADH2 and 7 NADH is formed. This acetyl coenzyme A are catabolized in TCA cycle, whereas this FADH2 FADH2 and NADH produced in this reaction are used to transfer electrons in the electron transport chain. Thus, we can compute the metabolic energy yield by doing fatty acid oxidation in terms of moles of ATP synthesized. Okay, how many moles of ATPs are synthesized when you do the fatty acid oxidation? Okay, by that we can compute the metabolic energy yield. So we are going to see some reactions in the beta oxidation of the palmitate, and we will see in the reactions how many ATP are produced and how many ATP are consumed, okay, one by one in the reaction. So now in the activation of palmitate into the palmitoyl coenzyme A, there is no production of ATP. ATP yield is 0 and 2 ATPs are consumed. Okay, in the activation of palmitate to palmitoyl coenzyme A, 2 ATPs are consumed, and that is the reason why it is represented by -2. Now, while doing the oxidation of 8 acetyl coenzyme A, 8 into 10, 80 ATPs are produced, and in this process no ATP is consumed. Okay, so in this reaction, okay, in the oxidation of 8 acetyl coenzyme A, 80 ATPs are being synthesized. ATP yield is 80. Now the oxidation of 7 FADH2 yields 7 into 1.5, that is 10.5 ATP. Okay, 10.5 ATP will be produced when 7 FADH2 are being oxidized. Now oxidation of 7 NADH. Okay, when 7 NADH are being oxidized, 7 into 2.5, that is 17.5 ATP are being produced. Okay, 17.5 ATPs while doing oxidation of 7 NADH. So overall, when palmitate is converted into 16 carbon dioxide and 13 H2O molecule, this reaction produces 106 ATPs. Okay, 80 plus 10.5 plus 17.5, that gives you 106 ATPs. Now this calculation assumes that the mitochondrial oxidative phosphorylation produces 1.5 ATP per FADH2. Okay, one molecule of FADH2 will produce 1.5 ATP, and the NADH, when NADH is oxidized, 2.5 ATP is being produced per NADH molecule. Okay, this is the assumption that we are making during these calculations. Now let's read about oxidation of monounsaturated fatty acids. Before that, let's read about the oxidation of fatty acids with odd number of carbon units. Okay, now the fatty acids which have odd number of carbon chains are minor component of diet. Okay, we don't eat that much fatty acids which are having odd number of carbon chains. Now the oxidation of this odd numbered fatty acid chain yields propionyl coenzyme A, and this propionyl coenzyme A is a 3-carbon compound, and it yields after the last cycle of the beta oxidation. Okay, so after the last cycle of beta oxidation, you have propionyl coenzyme A, which is a 3-carbon compound. Okay, after the last cycle of the beta oxidation of this odd numbered fatty acid chains. Now this propionyl coenzyme A finally gives a succinyl coenzyme A by biotin dependent carboxylation and coenzyme B12 dependent rearrangement. Okay, this propionyl coenzyme A is subjected to biotin dependent carboxylation and coenzyme B12 dependent rearrangement, and then this propionyl coenzyme A gives succinyl coenzyme A. Okay, by these two processes. Now first, this propionyl coenzyme A is carboxylated okay, by utilizing one ATP molecule, and the carboxylation of propionyl coenzyme A yields D isomer of methyl malonyl coenzyme A. Okay, first propionyl coenzyme A is carboxylated with the help of ATP, and that yields a D isomer of methyl malonyl coenzyme A. After that, that D isomer of methyl malonyl coenzyme A is racemized into L isomer. Okay, the D isomer gets converted into L isomer of methyl malonyl coenzyme A. After that, this L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A is converted into succinyl coenzyme A by an intracellular rearrangement. Okay, there is intracellular rearrangement of this L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A, which causes the conversion of this L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A into succinyl coenzyme A. After that, this succinyl coenzyme A can enter the TCA cycle, where it can be converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, so the succinyl coenzyme A produced here by the intracellular rearrangement of L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A enters TCA cycle to get converted into acetyl coenzyme A. So this represents it all. The propionyl coenzyme A is first carboxylated to form the D stereoisomer of methyl malonyl coenzyme A. Okay, propionyl coenzyme A is carboxylated and D methyl malonyl coenzyme A is formed, and this reaction is catalyzed by propionyl coenzyme A carboxylase. Now this D-methyl malonyl coenzyme A, which is produced here, is enzymatically epimerized into the L stereoisomer. Okay, this D-methyl malonyl coenzyme A is converted into L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A, and this reaction is catalyzed by methyl malonyl coenzyme A epimerase. Okay, this methyl malonyl coenzyme A epimerase catalyzes the reaction in which the D-methyl malonyl coenzyme A is converted into L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A, and then this L-methyl malonyl coenzyme A undergoes intramolecular rearrangement to form succinyl coenzyme A. Okay, and this reaction is catalyzed by methyl malonyl coenzyme A mutase, which is B12 dependent. Okay, so this is how the oxidation of fatty acids with odd number of carbon chain takes place. So now let's read about oxidation of monounsaturated fatty acids. Now the pathway for beta oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid is same as the beta oxidation for saturated fatty acid until a double bond is reached. Okay, so until a double bond is reached, these two processes are same, but once the double bond is reached, there is a change in a pathway for the beta oxidation of unsaturated fatty acids. So now let's consider an example. Okay, let's consider an example of the beta oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid, that is palmitoleic acid, which is made up of 16 carbons and have double bonds at 9 and 10th position. Okay, let's consider the beta oxidation of this monounsaturated fatty acid. Now the three cycles of beta oxidation of this palmitoyl coenzyme A, palmitoyl coenzyme A produces a cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A. Okay, the three cycle of beta oxidation of this thing produces cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A. If you want to oxidize it further, the further oxidation will require additional mitochondrial enzymes. Okay, if you want to oxidize this cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A further, then it will require additional mitochondrial enzymes. Now this cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A, this molecule is not a substrate for acetyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase. Okay, this enzyme acetyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase cannot act on cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A. Now what does this enoyl coenzyme isomerase does? Okay, this enoyl coenzyme isomerase rearranges the cis delta 3 double bond into trans delta 3 double bond, and then this trans delta 3 double bond can proceed normally for the beta oxidation pathway. Okay, so what's the function of enoyl coenzyme A isomerase? It just rearranges the cis delta 3 double bond into trans delta 3 double bond. It is converting the cis form to the trans form, and then this trans delta 3 double bond can proceed normally for the beta oxidation pathway. Okay, so thus this isomerase, this enoyl coenzyme A isomerase catalyzes the cis trans isomerization, and this enzyme just transfers the double bond position. Okay, the position of the double bond is kind of shifted by this isomerase. Okay, enoyl coenzyme A isomerase. Now this isomerase enzyme is needed. Okay, why it is needed? Because unlike the trans double bonds which are introduced during beta oxidation, the double bonds of most naturally occurring unsaturated fatty acids have a cis configuration. Okay, the double bonds of most of the naturally occurring unsaturated fatty acids have a cis configuration, and that is the reason why this isomerase enzyme is needed. Now the energy yield for the unsaturated fatty acid is less as compared with saturated fatty acid. Okay, saturated fatty acid has more energy yield, and with respect to this saturated fatty acid, the energy yield of the unsaturated fatty acid is kind of less. So the energy yielding step that is bypassed during the oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid, that energy yielding step is the first dehydrogenation reaction, which is catalyzed by acetyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase. Okay, this energy yielding step is nothing but a dehydrogenation reaction which is catalyzed by acetyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase, and this energy yielding step is bypassed during the oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid, and that is the reason why the energy yield of unsaturated fatty acid is kind of less as compared to saturated fatty acid, because it is bypassed during the oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid. Okay, this energy yielding step is bypassed during the oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid. Since that step, okay, that energy yielding step, it is a FAD linked dehydrogenation, okay, in which there is oxidation of FADH2 through electron transport, which yields 1.5 ATP per molecule of FADH2. That FAD linked dehydrogenation is kind of lost. Okay, so you just lose this 1.5 ATP molecule per FADH2 during oxidation of unsaturated fatty acid, and that is the reason why this palmitoleic, okay, this fatty acid is producing 1.5 less ATP as compared with palmitic acid, because this is an unsaturated fatty acid and this is a saturated fatty acid. Okay, there is a difference of 1.5 ATP. This unsaturated fatty acid such as palmitoleic produces 1.5 less ATP as compared to palmitic acid, which is a saturated fatty acid. So this is how the oxidation of palmitoleate looks like. Okay, you start with palmitoleoyl coenzyme A, and it is subjected to 3 cycles of beta oxidation, and then it produces cis delta 3 enoyl coenzyme A, which is then converted to trans delta 2 enoyl coenzyme A, and this reaction is catalyzed by enoyl coenzyme A isomerase. Now on this, enoyl coenzyme A hydratase acts, and whatever the product is produced, continuation of beta oxidation takes place on that product. Okay, so this is how the oxidation of palmitoleate looks like.